In this tutorial, we're going to assemble pieces of clip art freely available within the software to create this simple crest. We're going to start with an idea, then we're going to load in the different pieces of clip art from the clip art library. We're then going to resize and position them roughly into place before we start to organize the order of appearance by manipulating the core component properties. So let's start by opening a new copy of the software, and we're going to create a new file. And we're going to create a single-sided job. We're going to have a width of 10 inches, a height of 10 inches, and we're going to have a thickness of ½ inch, and we're going to be working from the material surface, XY datum in the center, and we're going to have a modeling resolution of very high. Once we've specified those, just press OK. Now normally, when we go to assemble clip art together, we normally have an idea in mind what we wish to create. We may have even sketched out a layout we desire, or we may just know through research through the internet the different types of items that might appear on what we wish to create. So like crests that we're going to create and put together now, I know that we quite often find that there's crowns, fleur-de-lis, different flourishes, and shields that make up what normally you'd see as a crest. So what I'm going to do with all this in mind is I'm going to go over to our modeling tab, and I'm just going to go ahead and start setting up my levels ready for our clip art. So with the level 1 selected, I'm just going to right click over that and just going to rename that level, as I know that the first base component that we're going to need is a shield. So I'm just going to literally just type shield in there, and that's going to make that the name of our first level. So here on, I can literally go ahead and start browsing through my clip art. So I'm just going to go to the clip art tab, and I've installed the clip art, so I'm just going to double click on the clip art here. Now by default that will load everything into the clip art browser view here, but we can also select the individual categories here. So I'm just going to go into panels and shields, so I'm just going to click on that, and then I can start to browse through my collection of different shields until I find one that much resembles what I had in mind basically for our crest. So I'm just going to scroll down, and these are the sort of shields that I'm now starting to look at, and I'm going to go for this one here, this shield 5 number 3. So with it selected, or with my mouse over the icon, I'm just going to double click, and that's then going to place that into my work area. And I'm just going to freely, by eye, just roughly put that into place. So I'm just going to put that in there, and it may help if I actually have the 3D view and the 2D view alongside each other. So I'm just going to go up here to arrange the views vertically, like so, so I get a better view of how our model is actually looking in the actual 3D space here. So that looks about right, and I'm just going to go back over to the modeling tab, as now I want to create another level where I'm going to now put my decorative items on my shield. So simply hover the mouse over the shield level, right click, and then choose this option to insert a new level, and then hover over again the level 1 that's just been placed in there, and right click again and rename that level. And we're going to call this the details level. So I'm just going to hit enter to accept that. And then we're going to head back into the clip art tab. So let's go back, and this time we're going to try and look for something in our decorative section. So let's click on decorative, and you'll see straight away there's one of the items that I mentioned, which is a crown. So I'm definitely going to want one of those, so I'm just going to double click that, and that's going to place itself in the center of our work area. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to resize that by eye. So I'm just going to grab a corner node like so. I'm going to hold shift on the keyboard, so I'll resize this by the object center. I'm just going to size that down, and I can just keep letting go of the mouse just to see what that actually looks like in position, like so. So if I want to make that just a tiny bit smaller, I can do, like so. And then if I want to keep it in line to the vertical center, which it is in at the moment, I can just hold the Alt key down, and then simply while it's in transform mode, I can simply just maneuver that to somewhere roughly around about there, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll down to find any other decorative items that I might find useful for this simple crest. So I'll scroll through, and I'm going to choose this item here, the 3 feathers. I think this will go nicely behind our crown. So it's going to, again, double click that, and it's going to go into the center of our work area. Now you'll see it has come in very large. So what we're going to do again is just resize that by eye. So I'm just going to hold shift down so it reduces that to the center point, and it's going to do that to, let's have a look what it looks like there, and it's going to hold the Alt key down just to maneuver that up towards the top of the shield, like so. I think that looks okay. May just want to bring that down just a tad. About there, that looks fine. Then let's have another look, see what else we can find in our decorative section. So scrolling back up and looking for basically anything like flourishes, fleur-de-lis, anything along those. So here we go. I spotted the fleur-de-lis here, so I'm just going to double click that to put that also in my job. And again, it's going to resize this by eye, like so. Roughly to size. Let's just press Alt again. I'm just going to drag this down just a little out of the way to see what that looks like. Now that may be still a little too big, so I'm just going to again just shrink it down just a little bit more. Let's try that, and just going to just maneuver that down just a touch to roughly around about here, like so. That's fine. Then I actually may want to create a copy of this, a smaller version, to the left and right side of that original large fleur-de-lis there. Now rather than click to or double click to get another one into the software, what I can do is actually just put that into transform mode again, and if I want to put this in line with the original, I can just hold Alt whilst moving it over to the left, like so. Now before letting go of the left mouse key, I just want to hold the control key down, as that is now going to create me a duplicate copy. Then with those keys, so the Alt and control key both held down, let go of the left mouse key, and now you'll see that we've got a duplicate copy. Now from here, we want to just resize it to its center point, so hold shift again and just make this so it's quite small, as we just want to put that to the left of this original fleur-de-lis here. So it's going to maneuver this while holding Alt into the area of the shield. We can actually zoom in just to make sure what that actually looks like. So just to make sure that obviously we can get tools in to these little gaps here, I'm just going to shrink that down just a little bit more. So again, just going to use that grayscale that we can see as guidance, and I think that looks perfect. So I'm just going to reset my view there, just maybe zoom in just a tad, and I think that basically completes all the decorative items that I want to place on my crest and on top of the shield level. Now most crests have somewhere where they've inscribed text onto it to represent whatever the crest is representing, and that normally comes in the form of some nice flowing banner or ribbon. Now I'm not going to add this onto the same level as what I have done the rest of the decorative items, so I'm just going to go back into the modeling tab, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new level. So I'm just going to right click over the details level and insert a new level. I'm going to right click that just to rename it, and I'm just going to call this the banner level, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and find myself a suitable banner. So I'm just going to go back into the clip art tab, and I'm going to look through my categories, and I've found this one, ribbons and banners, like so. Now we've got 3 to choose from here, and I'm going to go with this one here, this banner. So I'm just going to double click that into the job, like so, and I actually want to make this slightly larger. So I'm just going to get a corner node like so, hold shift key down, I'm just going to pull that out just below the width of the actual job. So something around here, like so, just to get a better view in the 3D view as well, that's fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag that down towards the bottom. So I'm just going to hold Alt key down just to move that in line, like so, and it's going to put that around here, like so. And just making sure we don't lose any of the corners outside of our work area, or the modelling plane, as you can see here in the background. So that's fine. Now there is one thing, if you see in the 3D view, and that's the fact that the banner that we've just added is now adding onto all the other heights of the other components that sit below it. And that's because our level is set to add in the combine mode. What we need to do, if we want this to merge nicely, is simply right click that and change the combine mode of the level to merge. And you'll see that that now sits nicely within that composition there. Now we could settle for this, but I'm just going to add something a little extra just to go along with the banner that we've just created. So I'm just going to go back to my clip art and go back into the decorative section. I'm just going to scroll through. I'm going to look for something like a flourish that I can use like this here, that can just sit out to the sides of our crest. So I'm just going to double click that. Now we can also drag these into the software itself. As you can see, there's a little plus icon there on our mouse. I'm not going to do that for this one now, as I've already added it into our work area. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to drag this down here, like so, into roughly position. Now I am going to resize this. So I'm just going to, again, drag one of the corner nodes whilst holding shift down. And I think that's roughly about the size that I might want it. Just put that around about there, like so. Yep, that looks perfect for me. So I'm just going to go back to my modeling tab, and because I've now added a flourish, I'm going to just, for organisational sake, I'm just going to rename this to banner and flourish, like so. Now before you think that we've missed out on the right hand side's fleur-de-lis and the flourish, what I'm going to do is, as we're next going to start organising where all these components are going to sit within the order of appearance of our crest, it makes more sense to adjust all the parameters for the components on the left hand side, and it makes it really easy then just to mirror those onto the right hand side afterwards, and it saves basically twice as much work. So as I just mentioned, we're going to now look at the order of appearance of our components. So we've already put in the components that we wish to have on our crest, and we've roughly sized and positioned them as to where we want them. Now what we're going to do is look at where those components sit within our composite model. So for instance, we want to make sure that this banner is proudly sat at the front, in front of the fleur-de-lis here and the shield itself. I want this flourish here to sit what it looks like behind this shield. Then I want this top part of the fleur-de-lis here actually to sit on top of the crown. And then I also want the feather here, or the three feathers, to sit behind the crown and not be able to see anything part, or any part of it behind the crown here, like you can at the moment. You see one of the quills. So just put the view back in Z there. So to do this does require a lot of fettling around with the different component properties that we have available to manipulate, and also making use of the features like the tilt and the fade to allow us to dip part of a component behind another. And for this, it may be a good idea to have the view in 3D only, just to give us a better view of the 3D object that we're dealing with here. So just to get a better understanding of what's going on in the 3D view at the moment, I'm just going to uncheck the visibility of all these and just go back to where we started when we imported the shield from the clip art library. So you can see that that level is set to add, so that's going to add onto the modelling plane, which as you'll see is the very lowest point of this 3D view and our components there, like so. Then we added another layer on top of that, whose components are all set to merge. So within that layer itself, all those components are merging together as one, as you can see in the 3D view. And the level is set to add. So that means anything on the details level is going to be added on top of the shield level. So you can see that's why at the moment they're all added on top of the base of the shield. Then we created another layer and we added the banner and flourish. Now we set this layer to merge, and that's why at the moment you'll see that they are now merging within the other two previous layers below. And this information will help us when we come to manipulate each of the components' properties, so we know what exactly each one is going to be doing with the other components that we're dealing with. So to begin with, I'm just going to start with the shield, so I'm just going to select it from the components list there, and just go to this banner icon, which is going to enable us to change the shield's properties. Now, as I actually want the banner to appear on top of the shield, we've got some distance here or height to cover for the banner to actually appear on top. So I may think about actually reducing the height of this shield slightly. So at the moment it's at 0.38. I may just want to put that down to 0.3. So it's going to remove that and just press the space bar, and that will then re-render that for us. So you'll see that's now brought that down quite a bit. So we're almost level with the banner. And then what I might want to do is I may want to select the banner itself, like so. Maybe round that up to 0.3 again, so now they're actually sitting level. Now rather than actually increasing the actual size of the shape itself, I may want to just add a little bit of a base height to it, just to push it above the shield itself. So I may just want to come here, just add in 0.1 to make that sit proudly above the shield, like so. And you see, while doing that, that's also solved another problem with actually it being behind the fleur-de-lis as well. The other problem that we have at the moment, if you look, is that the flourish that's coming out to the left hand side of our shield is actually merging through the bottom parts of our crest. So what we might want to do here is actually maybe reduce the height of the flourish. So if I just double click that, and you'll see that at the moment it's at 0.2355 of an inch, and I'm just going to reduce that down just only slightly, because I don't want to lose too much detail here. So I'm just going to reduce it down to 0.2. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a fade to this item. Now, as I'm working solely at the moment in the 3D view, I can't use the fade option and tilt option here, as that only enables us to use the 2D and 3D view at the same time. So what I'm going to need to do is I need to just close that form. I'm just going to put this into transform mode, then I'm going to select this dark blue node at the bottom here, which will enable us to use the component properties in the 3D view. And then from here, this will enable us to use the fade options within the 3D view. So once selected, simply press the set button, and what the fade option does, it will enable us to set an anchor point. So we have to put 2 points. So you'll see at the moment we've got our mouse pointer as anchor 1. And basically we want to put the first anchor point as where we want the component to basically hinge from. So the part of the component where we don't want to reduce the height or fade any of the height into basically the modeling plane. So I'm just going to select there as my first point, as I don't want to fade any of the heights down here, and I'm going to put up the other anchor point over the right hand side. And what this is doing is basically, you'll see that in the option here it's got 50%. Now what it's doing, from the left hand side to the right hand side, it's reducing the height of this component by 50%. And we can basically just keep altering this until we get no part of the flourish that's actually going over or looks like it's coming in front of the shield. So I may just want to add a tiny bit more of a percentage there, and that looks perfect. So if I just zoom out a little, let's just see what that looks like. Yeah, so that looks like that's now appearing from outside or from behind of the shield. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we were after. Next, we can move on to the decorative pieces. So if I just put the view back in Z, and all I need to do is just simply double click on any of the components, and that'll then bring up the component properties for that particular component. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to apply a tilt for this fleur-de-lis. So I'm just going to, first of all, select the tilt option, like so. Then I'm going to click set. And again, we're going to use the same anchor point system. So first of all, we're going to select where we want to hinge it from. And then we're going to put the place where the changes are going to happen most. And that's going to be the top part of this. So then once we've done that, we're going to simply start manipulating the degrees of change that we're going to want. So if I just keep doing this, you'll see that's now appearing in front of the crown as we wish. So I can also type in here, so I can just put 2, and if I press the space bar at the same time, that'll then re-render that in the 3D view for us. So I think 2 degrees is looking perfect. Now has that done anything for us down the bottom here? And you can see now what's happened here is that that's now started to appear above the banner. Now we can also apply a fade to this item as well. So if we just click on the fade, set, I'm going to go from this time, the anchor point is going to be the top, down to the bottom, and we're just going to fade that down like so. So again, not only have we tilted this so it appears above the crown, we've now also then added a fade so it appears rightly behind the banner, like so. So all that's left to actually modify here, position-wise, is the feathers. So let's double click on the feathers, like so, and as you can see there's that part of the quill that's appearing behind the crown. So all we need to do for this is simply, again, we can either add a tilt or a fade, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a fade to this. So I'm just going to click the set button again. It's going to fade from the top to the bottom, and you'll notice straight away that 50% has done the magic, and we've now faded the height of the bottom of that feathers enough so that it's sank beneath the shield and the crown itself. So the only thing left to do really is actually just copy over our components to the right hand side. So I'm just going to click close and just put the view back in Z there, and then just going to go over to the drawing tab, and I'm just going to double click on my Flourish there. Whilst I hold shift down, I'm just going to click the other component which I wish to mirror, and with them selected I'm just going to go to the transform objects and mirror selected objects tool. I'm going to make sure that the flip about job center is enabled, as we are working with the XY in the center of the job, and also all the items have been placed directly in the center, so we know we're okay there. And we want to create a mirrored copy, and all we need to do then is simply click the button to flip horizontally like so. And if I do that, that'll then create the copy over the other side for us. And if I click close and just double click in the white space, you'll see that's now created those perfectly, exactly how we wanted them, and replicated from the other side, like so. Now we could go ahead and machine this as it is at the moment, but there is one more thing that I would like to change, just as a subjective point of view here. Now you'll notice that with any of the banners, that they are normally very sharp and don't have smooth corners or edges, like so. You can see it's very sharp if we just look there. Now, what we may want to do to make it blend in more with the other components is actually add a smoothing filter to our banner. So I'm just going to double click on our banner. I'm just going to go back into the modeling tab, and with it selected, I'm just going to go into this option here to apply a smoothing filter. And you'll notice straight away that we will have smoother edges, as the software has applied a 50% smoothing to that banner. Now I think that may be a little too much smoothing, so we can just back off maybe to around about a quarter, like so, until literally we are happy with the way it looks, to make sure it blends in with the rest of the components. So I think about that looks fine. So now I'm happy with the overall appearance. All I need to do is simply click OK to accept that, to come out of that form, and then all we need to do then is save our work, or we can go ahead and toolpath this. The choice is ultimately ours. So I'm going to go ahead and save my work. So I'm just going to go to File, Save, and within my tutorials folder I'm just going to give this a name of simple underscore crest underscore 3D assembly, like so, and I'm just going to hit save. That's going to then save our work for future use. And that's it for this tutorial, so thank you for watching.